Hey folks, it's Eddie G, DM Fumble, and this is Fumbling Around. Sorry I've been a little bit behind on my video uploads between the holidays and just January, which never seems to be a good month for me. I've fallen by the wayside. But we're going to pick up now and keep going strong for February and the rest of 2024. Today I want to talk about managing your D&D campaign. Okay, let's imagine you've already have your players, and they have exciting characters. You've already done your session 0. These are all very important steps. But now you're at a stage where you, as the DM, need to make some hard choices about the type of campaign you want to run. You may have decided this before those other steps, or you might just be arriving at this stage now. Either way, there are some choices you can make, and all of them have their advantages, and most of them have some hidden challenges you should be aware of. Currently, I'm running 3 campaigns, which is a lot for me. And I want to go over each so you can see what you might expect depending on which type you choose. First things first, I'm not talking about one-shots. Those are their own separate animals, and we'll do a separate video just on them in the future. What I'm talking about are long-form campaigns, several months to several years, although I don't really recommend doing multi-year campaigns unless you know that's something your players are really interested in. Every multi-year game I've been in, either as a player or DM, has led to a lot of burnout all across the table. The first campaign type I want to talk about is the pre-written third-party campaign. WotC does about 1 or 2 of these a year. These are big books that usually take a party from first level all the way up to 12th, 15th, or sometimes even 20 level, depending on the campaign. My first example is the Dragonlance Shadow of the Dragon Queen hardback. I've been currently running this now for several months, and have some perspective I want to share. I also want to mention that I previously ran the Lost Mines of Phandelver mini campaign and Curse of Strahd, so you might think that a pre-written book would be the easiest of the 3 campaigns. I mean, the book is all there for you, from beginning to end, with a full plot, encounters, maps. Heck, they even script out what to say. All you need to do is read the book and run what's there. Easy peasy. Not so, my good friend. Sure, you have a full adventure, maps, encounters, etc., but that's just the groundwork. You still need to do your part. And that includes reading the module several times if you can. And what you need to do is be actively reading. And what do I mean by that? You want to fully grasp not just what's happening in that scene or that stage of the adventure, but everything that's going on, so you have a handle what's going on behind the scenes. What are the bad guys doing off stage? And you need all of this so you can easily handle your players when they go off book. And they will. A pre-written module only gets you so far. There will be gaps that you need to fill in. I think too often DMs get in that railroad mindset because they don't feel they have enough grasp of an adventure to allow players room to go in their own directions. A good DM who understands the module they're running should be able to allow their party to go off in their own direction and bring them back gently to the main storyline as needed. Let me give you an example. In my Dragon Queen game, the players wanted to work on some personal side quests, things the module obviously couldn't account for. Luckily, I knew enough about the module to know where and when to work in these side quests, in between missions when they're doing work for the city of Calaman. Additionally, I knew enough about what's going on across the entire Dragonlance continent to work in details beyond what the players could see, allowing me to create a richer, more dynamic world for the players. Conversely, I didn't know enough about Barovia when I was running Curse of Strahd, and the players ended up wandering around too much without a clear sense of purpose. This ended up in player frustration and DM burnout, eventually ended up wrapping up the campaign, but not in a way that the module actually expected. The other challenge you have with a pre-written module is mistakes and problems in the text. And what do I mean by this? Well, do the room descriptions match up with the map? Sometimes, even WotC products, there are disconnects between the map and the description. Maybe something got changed at some point, and one party didn't tell the other. For whatever reason, you want to look for these discrepancies and figure them out and how you want to handle them. Above all, you want to try and avoid finding these issues during a session, having the game grind to a halt, and having to decide on the spot what you want to do. Similarly, when looking at a combat area, is there enough space for all your players and all the monsters? Especially if you have a large party or you scale up the number of creatures the party encounters. I personally hate when rooms are so small you only have enough room for 1 or 2 PCs in the room, 1 or 2 in the doorway, and a few people in the back just twiddling their thumbs, unable to take an action. When I see this, I try to make the room bigger, or I'll take 2 rooms and mash them into one larger room. Or if I can't do any of that, I'll have some monsters attack the party from behind, thus allowing those folks in the back to do something and creating a more dynamic encounter for my players. Lastly, pre-written modules are not written for your group, obviously. That said, if you know your group is better tactically than a typical party, or they have a few more magic items, you need to consider how you're going to balance those pre-written encounters to keep the threat level where it was intended. This can include anything from more HPs per monster, increasing the number of monsters, giving them a special ability, etc. Again, with my Dragon Queen group, they're average party size and pretty good tacticians, so I'll occasionally bump up the number of monsters or add a few more hit points. Even sometimes I swap them out. Overall, my goal is to not make every battle deadly or a slog, but to get to that fun space somewhere in the middle. Now let's move on to another one of my campaigns. Unlike the Dragon Queen group, which leverages a fully pre-written module, this campaign, also set in Dragonlance, you're going to see a recurring theme here, is a wholly original campaign based on the character backgrounds and their backstories. You might think this is the hardest of the 3 campaigns to keep going, but again, not necessarily. There is an upfront cost for this campaign style. All the work is on you for the story, maps, treasure, etc. But that lift is not as hard as you might think. First, there are plenty of online tools to help you, from adventure ideas to map collections. There's tools to help you generate encounters, treasure, and magic items. Secondly, and most importantly, you should fully know your setting or be willing to keep reading up on it as necessary, and you know your players' characters. Maybe not their exact hit points or their skills, but you should know their backstories. And after a few sessions, how they play their characters. Is there someone who always likes to be the face of the group, or someone who likes to attack from a distance? These are all tools that you can use in building adventures tailored to your players' styles, and that can sometimes be easier than having to adapt a pre-written adventure. What I'm getting at is the real advantage with this style of a campaign is you can lean into what the players like and steer away from what they don't like. For example, if your group isn't a big fan of the social interactions, you can do things like run shopping via email and speed through any information gathering scenarios. Let them roll a skill or 2 and then give them a summary, like, okay, you talked to the bartender and later some of the town guards and you learned XYZ. In this campaign, I started off with some short adventures, testing out some ideas, including some dungeon crawls, some social political ideas, etc. Based on what I learned after those initial adventures, what the party liked and didn't like, I was able to focus the rest of the game according to their interests and mine. Another example from this campaign of leaning into what the players are doing. After a certain adventure, one of the players told me he wanted his character to start a relationship with Periwinkle, one of the NPCs in the adventure. And honestly, she's really just a throwaway character who just so happened to have a name. But based on the player's wants, it was easy for me to adapt my homebrew campaign and add Periwinkle as an ongoing character through new or modified adventures. And it's turning out to be for the best. We've had plenty of great role-playing encounters with Periwinkle and her friends. Hey folks, are you enjoying this content? I really hope you are. And if you are, please consider hitting that like and subscribe. It's really helped the channel grow in the past year, and I'm hoping to have that same growth in 2024, thanks to people like you. The last of my 3 campaigns is really an amalgam of the 2 previous. It's a combination of original adventures and shorter pre-written ones, mostly old Dungeon Magazine adventures updated for 5e. This campaign plays out like a TV series. Every few sessions is a new adventure with only a loose connection to previous adventures. I set it up this way because this group wasn't looking for a serious, in-depth campaign, but instead a more relaxed game between old friends. And for me this was perfect, because I could use those old Dungeon Magazine adventures, most of which I never got around to using the first time. Also, when I do have an original idea for this group, it's easy for me to slot it in. Now, even a relaxed game like this does have its challenges. For me, the biggest challenges are adapting the adventures. Since once again, I'm running this in the Dragonlance setting, I want to make sure any pre-written adventures fit in with this setting. That usually means making sure any gods match the Dragonlance pantheon. Also, I want to make sure that the adventures don't contradict or repeat each other. If the party defeats a local band of bugbears, I don't want the next adventure to feature a local band of bugbears. If necessary, I can always swap out for something equivalent, or look for a different adventure entirely. One advantage to this campaign style is that I can make sure the modules I pick fit with the group. One of the players is running a dwarf, and I was able to tie one of the NPCs in a module I picked as being his aunt. Another character is a rogue, so the Thieves Guilds are always an easy tie-in. So, in conclusion, there's multiple ways to run a campaign, and I would say no one is better than the other. Each have their own explicit and implicit challenges. What you need to do is figure out which type of campaign style will work best for your group. And lastly, there's nothing that says you can't change from one style to another. Maybe I'll find a long-form adventure I want to run for my Module of the Week group, or abandon Dragon Queen entirely and take the party to an area not covered in the book for the completely original finale. If you're the DM, the choice is always yours. And if your players are having fun, and you're having fun, then you're making the right choices. Cheers. Until next time.